Welcome to the Daily Gripe. We're Denise and Neil, the creators of the Tao Talk podcast, and we've launched a new show dedicated to the news, politics, current events, and everyday frustrations that keep us shaking our heads and asking, what the hell are these people doing? We're independent, opinionated, left leaning, and not afraid to call out nonsense whenever we find it. No corporate talking points, no political cults, and no manufactured outrage. Just honest conversation, sharp opinions, and a little sarcasm, and the occasional unhinged rant. If you tried the spin and you're frustrated by the state of things, you found your people. So, in today's episode, we're going to talk about the big pile of bullshit bill. That's today's gripe. But before we get started, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Click that bell so you're notified when new videos drop, and leave us a comment at the end. Let us know what you think. Without any further delay, let's get started. Okay, Neil. So we've got a lot of financial issues. I just checked with the Peterson debt clock, which I love to use all the time. The national debt is now, as of today, 39,225,000,000,000. And I won't even figure the rest of the numbers, but it basically is just under $115,000 per person for every single person living in the United States today. It doesn't even like that's just everybody, whether they're immigrants or not. So, you have something you want to share with us regarding the debt. So can you tell us what's going on?
Yeah, a lot of people really just don't. I get that economic policy is difficult, right? And I get like understanding economics, understanding the how things impact you down the road type of thing, right? Like people don't really understand that, So like, a lot of like energy prices today, right? Like we look at our household energy today. Okay. You look at your refrigerator, you look at your stove, if you have a new stove or whatever, right? You look at those things, they're much more energy efficient today than they were back back 20, 30, 40 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, when
Right.
electric didn't cost anything.
Well, it was just that energy standards have changed. And the reason energy standards changed is because laws were implemented that changed those standards. So a lot of the standards regarding energy, right? Like they were passed during George W. Bush. People don't realize that. It's not like George W. Bush went around bragging and beating his chest going, I'm great. I did this great law, right? Like, I mean, you don't see that shit. He did a law and, people are saving on average 15%, right, on their household energy because of those energy standards, right?
Right.
Think about today, what that would be. If that wasn't put in place, what you add 15% to your energy bill, right? Like, I mean, that's what it did.
That's
And
true.
not only that, you had Obama come in and Obama added to that. He said, this is a good bill. I'm going to add to it. He didn't sit there and say, oh, everything my predecessor touched, I'm going to destroy. Right? Like it didn't happen. It's like, that is like the most horrible, horrible policy you could possibly imagine. You got to take the good stuff and get rid of the bad stuff. Right? So
Makes sense.
I'm going to play a clip regarding the big beautiful bill because people really just don't understand the long-term impacts that these type of bills have. And then they don't understand how disingenuous their politicians are when talking about these bills. Everything now is a lie and what they can sell you. Okay? Right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
we're
have
living
to
in that now.
understand that. So one of the things I do want to point out is I'm gonna play a clip from an economist, Catherine Edwards. Actually,
Catherine Edwards, okay.
it's two clips. Okay. She testified in front of Congress. She's a well-known economist and writer. They actually called her, unpatriotic or un-American, if you could believe that. Um, she had a great comeback. I'm not gonna
From
play the
these
comeback.
Republicans?
Yeah.
Shit,
I'm
yeah.
not I'm not gonna play the comeback. Go look up her testimony. Go watch it on YouTube. I'm gonna say it's absolutely fire. You should absolutely watch it. It's fantastic. But I'm gonna play you the clips that I think are important in terms of um some of her testimony and stuff like that, because really people got to understand how horrible these people are in Congress. You know, they say that they're there for you. They say that they want to help you. They do these things, and then it turns around and it's actually like not doing anything. It's actually hurting you more, but you don't even realize how much it hurts you. And that's sort of the problem, is we all have all these, you know, when you pull on one lever, another lever goes up, right? And
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. So they pulled one lever and another lever went up. And people are, and then they just want to blame somebody else instead of fixing the problem, because fixing the problem will mean, you know, obviously hurting their donors, and they don't want to do that. So I'm going to
Well,
play you a
that's
clip
really what
now.
it's all about.
Right.
They are beholden to their donors and not the people.
So I'm going to play the clip now.
All right.
This century, whose collective 10-year budget costs are over $12 trillion. If there were, if there were a problem in our economy that tax cuts could solve, they would have solved it by now. If tax cuts were the key to job growth, if tax cuts were the key to wage growth, if tax cuts were the key to income growth, if tax cuts were the key to affordability, if tax cuts were the key to the linchpin of Americans' economic security, we would have that evidence in hand, because we have been collecting it for 25 years, and we don't. Again, it is not that tax cuts can have no positive effect, but they have failed to grow the economy enough to justify their enormous cost. I will end by noting that there is reason for optimism, because there is so much that we can do when we stop using revenue collection as economic policy and instead use revenue collection to fund economic policy, policy that is a fraction of the cost, policy
Good
that
point.
has clear proven returns, policy that directly invests in families and workers rather than hope they'll respond the right way to a marginal change in tax liability. We are not out of options, but we are out of tax cuts. Thank you for your attention. I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you, Dr.
I just want to say, right, what she is talking about is infrastructure. What we've all been harping on, what Democrats have harped on from the very beginning of time. By funding infrastructure, by funding these projects, you put, for every dollar you spend, you put $4 back into your economy. All right. For every dollar that you spend on military, on police, on all this kind of stuff, you actually only put back into the economy, like, I think it's like 40 cents. Okay.
So
So when you start looking at your even your local economy, your state economy, and your federal economy, where do you want to put your money? I keep hearing about jobs, right? Like, we keep hearing in our local community, we talk about job creation. And one of the main things we talk about when it comes to job creation is we talk about development, building, construction.
right, ways
And
to
it goes
create jobs.
right, and it goes to this idea that oil jobs are temporary, right? I actually heard a politician tell me that once, right? That was actually Sean Patrick Maloney, who was my congressman, said all jobs are temporary. Okay, great, fine. All jobs are temporary. Why is it that we are not creating jobs by putting infrastructure projects together? You look at China, you look at Russia, you look at the EU, you look at Germany. They are modernizing their economies and their infrastructure.
Yes. Yeah, China
Okay?
especially.
Canada, I want to point out something that Canada just did. They just made a deal for fast charging EVs in Canada. You can now fully charge your EV in Canada with the superchargers that they have in 9 minutes.
Wow, that's impressive.
Okay. The fastest in the United States, I believe, I can't even remember the name, right? But it's not Tesla, but the fastest in the United States is 18 minutes. Most of them take significantly longer than that. But
Yeah,
there's one car where you could do 18 minutes. They have 9 minutes now in
9
Canada.
minutes. So you could
Okay.
just basically show up at a gas station, plug into one of these things, run to the bathroom, get yourself a coffee, come out, boom, you're back on the road again.
This is honestly, we are seeing technology advance. We are looking at Chinese technology. We are looking at European. The technology is surpassing anything we have in the United States. And here's the rub: the United States isn't allowing any of it into its markets.
Yes. Well,
All
well,
right.
look, we were before Trump came back in, right? Biden had started building out. That was the sort of the new Green Deal and in building out infrastructure regarding lower cost
Right.
energy. This would affect EVs.
Right.
Chances are, if we continued in that direction, we would probably be doing this 9-minute thing, right?
Well, and that's the thing, right? We keep talking about job creation, job creation, job creation. And every opportunity we have to create jobs here, these politicians in Washington kill it in favor of tax cuts. Okay. And now, as we heard her say, Catherine say, or Miss Edwards, whatever you want to call her,
Dr.
um,
Edwards.
Dr. Edwards, sorry, my bad. All right. I didn't realize that. I forgot that she was a doctor. Dr. Edwards, um, she hit the nail on the head. Okay. You can't create jobs if you're going to give money just to the rich people. Look what the rich people are doing. They're hoarding the money. They are just buying yachts. They are buying more homes. They're buying like whole islands. Okay? You know,
Yeah. They're consolidating power. They're buying all the media. They're buying the one thing they're
right.
not doing is the one thing was the big promise of these tax cuts, the whole trickle down theory, which has never worked. They've never
Right.
created new jobs. In fact,
Never
if anything,
right.
they've lost jobs.
And that's exactly what Dr. Edwards said. Is that we've actually have 25 years now of this policy, actually more. We have going all the way
More
back to
40
Reagan.
years.
Right. We I think over 60 years, because we have going all the way back to Reagan when he started the trickle down
Well, 60
economics.
would be 40, 45. Yeah, I'm not that old, bitch.
Whatever. All right. 45 years. Whatever. 45 years, right, of trickle down economics, and we see that it doesn't work. Okay?
It's never worked.
We It's never worked. And we are not investing in ourselves. We are not investing in our economy. We are not creating jobs. Okay? This is how government can use its power to create jobs and to advance technology. It's through incentive. It's through, we're going to do infrastructure. The more infrastructure you do, fixing the grid, upgrading the grid. We wouldn't have, if we had spent the last 45 years upgrading our grids and updating our energy in this country, the whole like data center issue that we face today with energy and water might not even exist, if you think about it, right? If we spent the money, right, to keep up with the rest of the world, we wouldn't have the problems that we have today. Okay?
Right.
This
We'd
is
have alternative energy that wouldn't need all those things.
this is how and why, right? The economic policy of the last 45 Democrats and Republicans of the last 45 years have failed. Okay? Have failed the American people. Okay? And they haven't created jobs. Okay? And the funny thing is, right? And this is what everybody, the classic line that everybody now should be thinking. You gave all these tax breaks. And I say you because you are the taxpayer. You are the one giving these tax breaks because you are electing these morons. Okay? Came out and said, we'll give you the tax breaks. We want jobs in return. And what did they do? The moment you gave them the tax break, the moment you said, we want the jobs, they turned around and said, fuck you. We're taking all your jobs and giving it to AI.
Right. Yeah.
So
And
they're
we
not,
could
right.
we could talk a
Not
lot
one
about
job.
AI. No.
And I don't want to get on that topic, but it just shows you jobs is not what they're looking at. They're not looking at creating jobs. Nothing of what they've done has gone towards creating jobs and making lives better for Americans. Everything has been to give tax breaks to the rich. Now I want to play you the second clip of of now we're going to discover the lies. Okay? So we went through the first part, now we're going to go through the second part with the actual lies.
Office came up with the impact of the legislation was to compare it to current law. There was a tax cut passed in 2017. Its provisions were going to expire. This bill extended those provisions. Therefore, the impact of the bill is the extension and the change to law. Republicans are going to hit the road this summer with the talking point that the One Big Beautiful Bill Act exclusively benefited the bottom 90% of households, and that the cost of the bill and the fact that it helped millionaires and billionaires at the top is just as Democrats being histrionic. So they are banking on the fact that they can be deceitful and even dangerous with federal policy because you don't understand how fiscal accounting works. But you do, because I'm about to explain it to you. Ready? So let's pretend I'm a sitting US Senator and I want free universal child care. So I go down to the Congressional Budget Office, who's tasked with telling us how much legislation costs in the US, and they come back and tell me that it's going to be $50 billion a year. And over the 10-year window, which is the standard time for assessing the cost of legislation, it will cost $500 billion. That's too expensive for a lot of people. It sounds scary. And a lot of my colleagues say they can't support the legislation because it's so expensive and it doesn't look like I'm going to get it passed. Woe is me, I don't get to have free childcare until I remember that really clever accounting trick that the Republicans came up with their One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I go down to the floor and say, y'all, I need $50 billion to create a 1-year free universal child care program. Now it's just $50 billion. It's not that much money from the federal government's perspective. And I'm going to create a 1-year experiment of a temporary free universal child care program. It's going to go away at the end of next summer. It's small enough for people's support. They're willing to buy in. It passes. And 1 year later, before it expires and the whole program is wound down, I go back to the floor and say, oh, by the way, I'm going to make this temporary universal child care program permanent, and it's actually going to be in place for forever. But because the policy is already in place, I don't actually have to take into account any of the spending increases over the next 9 years because I'm not changing policy. I'm just making a minor tweak to the law and making it from temporary to permanent. So my free universal child care program costs $50 billion to become temporary in 1 year, costs nothing for the 9 years after that when I make it permanent. And voila, I have reduced the cost of free universal child care from $500 billion to $50 billion simply by using the accounting trick established for me by my Republican colleagues. That is exactly what they're doing with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. 2017, they passed a tax cut called the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. It had incredible provisions for the top of the income distribution, not only in changing their rates and how things are billed, but also the estate tax. And it led to an enormous tax cut for the very top. All of its provisions were going to expire in 2025. But just before they expired, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act made them permanent. And the Republicans accounting, they don't have to pay for this and they don't have to claim it. If something was already in place in policy, it doesn't matter if the law changed. The policy means that they don't have to pay for it anymore. And they have now made the claim that that $450 billion a year tax cut that cost $4.5 trillion over the 10-year window doesn't actually exist. The only thing in the bill that matters is the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security, all three of which are categorically incorrect statements, by the way. That's all that's in the bill. It was really about helping the working class, and all those provisions at the top that they made permanent, they don't count. When I say that they're banking on you not understanding, they are hoping that you can be tricked by thinking of how we cost legislation this way, not realizing the type of backdoor that it creates to absolutely shatter whatever little sense of fiscal responsibility we have left in the US. Because the precedent is if you want something passed, you simply lie about it, come in after the fact to make it permanent, and then you don't have to be accountable to the American people for the money that you're spending. And by the way, when I was there, I told them point blank that this was a bill. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act absolutely benefited people at the top more by a pretty incredible margin. The JCT and CBO have always looked at current law as opposed to current policy, which is where they come up with their distributional effects. So, for example, the distributional effect is a 0.3% increase in resources for the bottom 10% of households and a 2.9% increase in resources for the top 10% of households. The way that the Joint Committee on Taxation and the
Wow.
Right. So, right, like basically what she is saying is they're using accounting tricks to lie to you. And you got to remember all those no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. It's all BS. By
Yeah,
now,
and they're
everybody
not permanent.
has right, and they're not permanent. And they cost businesses significant amount of money and resources to manage, okay? Right? For very little gain. For very little in terms of gain, right? You may think like, oh, I have $40,000 in overtime, so I'm going to get a deduction for $40,000. But then when you realize it's only a third of that, it's not significant, especially given the fact that now energy costs are through the roof, grocery costs are through the roof, right? Like, I mean, any savings that you had went completely out the window with your personal finances. So I'm sick and tired of this nonsense. And anybody voting for a Republican these days, and I get the Democrats aren't that great either with the whole APAC thing, right? But anybody voting for a Republican or anybody who voted for this bill, if you vote for the person who voted for this bill and you're not a billionaire, then you're basically saying, take my money. Take my
Yeah.
money. You know?
Well, that's exactly
And
what they're doing.
and just while you're paying your bills, right? Because you like to pay more money, if you would like to pay my bills, please DM me, right? Because apparently you like
I
spending
give you my
money,
Cash App.
right? And as somebody who doesn't like spending money, spend some money for me and make up the difference of that one big beautiful bill that you voted for and that you support. You can make up that difference for me. So that way my personal economy doesn't change because this is something you voted for.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I think for a lot of people, I think a lot of people are waking up to the fact that this whole trickle down theory has been bullshit all along. There's still some people, there's still one third of this country does not get it, just refuses to
No.
see through it. They just don't want to see through it. But 2/3 of the country seems to be getting, finally asking the right questions and acknowledging that this has been a theft. Um, so what do you think we can do about this? What
I
is the
I
what
thi-
is the steps to solution? Is there a solution?
the steps to solution is first of all, we have to tax the rich. All right. We have to raise the taxes on the billion. I mean, you think about it. We have abject poverty in this country, right?
Yes.
And tomorrow we'll have the first trillionaire.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And it,
A, tr-
and if sorry.
a trillionaire who wouldn't be where he is today if he hadn't received welfare in the form of our tax dollars, a $38 billion bailout back, I guess in like 2009.
And just
Otherwise,
keep in mind. Oh, sorry.
he'd be out of business if it wasn't for
And
that.
and just keep in mind what's happening tomorrow, the IPO that's happening tomorrow for Starlink, is a pump and dump scheme. You get in, you can't get out. So it's a pump and dump scheme. And if you don't see that by now, the whale, the whale in England, who's known as one of the notorious traders, right, just shorted the
I've heard of
S&P
him.
by the largest amount in history. Okay?
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is that everybody is going to buy into this. Okay? They're then going to get locked in while Musk and the employees and all the buddies, right, who got in right at the top, right, all dump their stocks, right? And you're going to be left holding the bag and you're not going to be able to get out because you're now locked in. Some people have a 15 to 30-day window lockout period. So if you buy and you're one of the initial people to buy, okay, tomorrow, right, you're locked. You're done. You're going to lose money.
Yeah. That's the reason why I say no, don't ever jump into an IPO. Yeah.
It's honestly here's the rub. Now the S&P said no, but the other indexes haven't made a determination yet. If this gets indexed, which it likely will, they're changing all the rules. So if this gets on an index, it's going to end up in your pension. Okay? So then you are going to be left holding the bag in your pension, okay? Because then all the index funds are required to buy it to follow the index. So when this falls, it's going to take all
You're
the
gonna fall
pensions
with it.
with them, okay? And he becomes a trillionaire while your retirement savings goes in the gutter.
Yeah, your retirement savings goes into his pocket. And this
Right.
is they're basically gonna short this, just like they're shorting AI. Like, they're betting
Well,
on AI,
they're
you
just
know,
selling. They're selling, and then you have the whale and you have others betting against it because they know that it's going to go down.
yeah.
There's no place to go but down. This company has no revenues whatsoever. Okay, they have no profit.
Well, yeah. So they were valued at $2 trillion, right? $2 trillion value, but they've turned like maybe $20 billion in profit last year.
No, they have
That's
no profit.
they will
They have no
oh,
profit. It
not
was
even.
revenue. That was revenue. That's not
Oh,
profit.
I'm
Profit and
sorry. I stand corrected.
right. These guys, this company has been operating at a loss since inception, right? And has been, you know, basically propped up by the taxpayers. And now us as individuals, right, with our pension money are now going to get left holding the bag. This is how everything is operating now. It's just a scam. It's one scam after another. Okay? Meant to take money out of your pocket and put it into their pocket. And they don't want to be taxed because they want the money.
It is the biggest heist in history.
Go watch Jerry Maguire and just replay Cuba Gooding Jr. saying, "Show me the money," because that's your rich person. That's what they're doing. Show me the money. Show me the money. You
Yeah.
know, that's
Let me
all
ask
they're
you
doing.
this. Let me ask you this. For people who can manage their own 401ks, a lot of 401ks are basically backed by mutual funds, and you kind of pick and choose from a selection that's in your program what you want to do. But usually within most programs, I know mine did, there's usually one that's sort of like a money market or a bond fund or a way to sort of take if you need to take your money out of the market, if the market is volatile, for lack of another word, you can put it here because that's what I did with my 401k, and it's just basically backed by bank interest. Is that a safe place to move it temporarily to avoid losing it?
For temporarily, I would say so. For now, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not an investment manager, so that wouldn't be in my wheelhouse to tell you where to put it. Money market funds can lose money, but
Right, but
money
is it
market, putting it into a savings account, putting it into a CD at this point in time, right? Just to ride the wave. I don't know if anybody's gonna have the opportunity to do that this quick. Um, but we've this has been a long time coming. This has been a long time coming, and Musk is gonna take a ton of money. He's gonna become a trillionaire, and
and it's our
this is
money.
what this is what they want, and this whole we don't want to tax, like, it boggles my mind that you're not going to tax a guy who's a trillionaire. Like, that
So
boggles my mind that people are
tax
fighting that and saying no.
it's unbelievable how people have decided they need to we're worshiping wealth while getting poor at the same time. Fucking people, it's your wealth. It's your money. It's the same wealth. It's not like it's new wealth going to Musk. It's old wealth. It's existing wealth coming from other people that had it and going to this richest guy on the planet.
People have a very strange way of looking at their personal economy, and looking at taxes. Because people, you talk about raising taxes, and people hate when you raise, like, local taxes, right? You're like your local property taxes. You hear that a lot. Oh my God, my local taxes went up. But that they're investing in your local economy. That is the most direct way to invest in your local economy. The taxes that you're paying to the federal and state government, I know you can't do anything about it, but we have to start holding these people accountable for that money, right? What's happening is that
Absolutely.
your money is getting taken by them. You get pissed off at your local because they're there and you can yell at them. Okay. And I get that. Okay. But that's not where your money's going. Okay. 20 to 30% of your money, okay, or actually more than that, I think 40% of your money is going to the state and federal government.
Wow. And
Just
and and I think for the billionaires, if it's 10% of their money, it's a lot. And don't forget there's a whole lot that doesn't even get taxed at all.
And you look at Donnie, he went in there, and the first thing he did was he had a bunch of bloated contracts that weren't really netting any return, but they were like special interest contracts. Like enough, you know? So we canceled them. And why can't we do that in the federal? Why is the state government and the federal government so anti infrastructure?
Well, because it costs money and it takes away from, their greedy donors that
but
don't give
but
anything back.
I keep hearing development creates jobs, right? They say that all the time. Well, part of development is redoing your infrastructure and building your infrastructure. So if infrastructure creates jobs too, okay? And it adds money to the economy, because for every dollar the state and federal government spends on infrastructure, $4 gets added to the economy. Okay? This has been a proven fact. Okay? The reason why we are having these problems is because we've stifled infrastructure. Now you could say, oh, there are a bunch of infrastructure projects and politicians will talk about, oh, we did this, but there's so much more that they could be doing. But, look at where they're spending the money. They're spending money on flock cameras.
Yeah.
They're spending money on AI. They're spending, right? All this money that they're spending for these security measures, right, don't actually add any money to the economy at all, right?
No.
It's
No.
all for surveillance. So
To
I
watch
I have
us.
right, and I have to ask the question: why do you need to watch us if you are doing what you were supposed to doing by putting money into the economy and growing the economy, right? You wouldn't need to watch us,
All right, we'd be happy.
right?
Wouldn't be like sharpening our pitchforks here. Um, yeah.
Right.
So this is where we're at. So I think the answer here is we need to pay attention to who we're voting for. Who are they really beholding to, right? We see this all the time, and this is not just Republicans. We're seeing this with Democrats as well. It's independents and progressives that are more beholding to the public than they are to their wealthy donors because they are not taking a PAC money of any kind, whether it's a PAC or some other super PAC, and that's really what matters because these people work for their donors and their donors are incredibly wealthy. And the more that they take control of our legislature, of our elected representatives, the less representation we get. And that's where we are right now. And so
And
we need to, as a population, take that power back. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Neil.
all politics is local. So you may think that this national policy or voting for president doesn't matter, but George W. Bush's energy plan, which Obama expanded, okay, are helping us currently with our bills. As I said, add 15% to your bill because they're the ones that helped with the energy efficiency in this country. We'd be using 2 billion or 2 million more barrels a day if it wasn't for them. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Global pointed that out.
Correct. So and then the second thing I want to point out is these fucking purity tests. Okay. We live in a digital age. You take anybody's cell phone on any given day, on their worst day, and you will find stuff that makes them not eligible, or you might say, I don't want to vote for that person because they said this on this day. The fact is that any one of us taken on our worst day could look really, really bad. What
Well,
we
that's
have
just
to
normal.
do is and it's normal. We have to look at what people are saying and what people are doing, the actions that people take. We need to stop with the fucking purity tests.
Yeah.
So I'm sick and tired of this, that the way people talk about purity tests. Fuck your fucking purity tests, right? We need action and we need it fucking now. and we need Americans. So stop looking at your goddamn purity tests, right? And start electing people who are going to put money into us as individuals, invest in us as Americans, invest in America, and invest in people. Oil people, right? Because what's
Absolutely.
happening now will absolutely 100% destroy America.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my rant. That's my gripe for the day, and that's my
That's
rant.
the gripe for the day. All right,
Peace out,
folks.
people.
All right, folks. So we're going to wind up here with this segment. We've got more coming for you. Please, if you are not already subscribed, please do that now. Like and share us with your friends. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. 7 words or more to feed the algorithm, and click the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. We're going to start filling this up. We're going to be looking at doing some live streams where you can come and engage with us, and let us know what your gripes are. We would love to talk about them and get those out on the table. Let's get it all out and fucking get our gripes dealt with and find solutions. All right, guys. So we'll see you soon. We love you all. Take care.
Peace out.